Welcome everybody to the Scale Up Show. This is your host, Ryan Staley. I have a very special guest with me on today. I have Nick Bonfiglio. He's currently the CEO of Syncari, which basically got Series A funding in May of last year for $17 million. He was the former CTO at LucasFilm during Star Wars. He's also the EVP of Global Product for Marketo, which took them from 2.5 million to 300 million in ARR and eventually sold to a PE firm. Nick, welcome, man. Happy to have you on the show.
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for having me, and happy post-New Year.
Yeah. Happy post-New Year, man. And I gave Nick a little jab about this, but he's got the Steve Jobs look going with the black shirt, looking sharp, man.
I always wear black. Most introverts do.
I like it, man. So let's talk through. Let's give everybody just kind of a quick revenue rundown to start the episode, so they have a little context on where you're at. So where are you guys at in your revenue journey?
Yeah, I mean, look, 2.5 years ago we were slides, and in about that time we became a product and Series A viable in May of last year, and we're well north of that at this point and working towards our Series B.
That's awesome. Let's talk about RevOps, because most people don't know what revenue operations is. And I don't want to say most people don't know, but it's not as common or mainstream as you would think. I clearly know what it is. I've been embedded in the sales world for a while, just like you. So how would you define it is step one. And then step two is what's the single biggest problem you see in revenue operations today?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's still emerging, and a lot of people are confused by what it actually is. And I'm going to quote a CFO that I spoke to recently that is actually labeling RevOps BizOps in their org, but it's the stitching together of everything that touches revenue into one organization so that everyone's got the same roadmap and the right prioritization and the right analysis of what's going on from leads to billings. Getting that under control in any company is critical. And so if the people giving you lead numbers are giving you one set of numbers and that doesn't match into what's going on in, let's say, your sales and in your finance, et cetera, it all rolls together, right? And getting that your leads to billings not just understood, but also accurate and trusted across the organization is the thing that RevOps should be mostly focused on, in my opinion.
As we kind of go forward, where do you see the future of tech going over the next few years?
Yeah, this is a great question. I talked to a few CEOs about this, and I try to spend time trying to figure this out myself. But what I see clearly is IT, quote unquote IT, is been reducing in responsibility, size, and budget a lot over the last few years. And what that means is it's opened up this opportunity for no code enablement of business users that are becoming super smart. I mean, what we've done is taken all the analysts that used to be in IT and put them into the business units. And now these analysts go I'm not a huge coder, but I really know what I want to do with my process or data, et cetera, my transformations. I want to do these summations, aggregations, whatever I want to do. I know what those are, but I want that to exist everywhere. And so I'm seeing that no code could become very prevalent in the next 3 to 5 years, where if you're still a coded platform, you might be appealing to an engineering team that's embedding something in their own product, but to operate the business, it's probably not going to be very compelling for those users, if that makes sense.
Wow. Let's talk about Marketo. What do you need to believe to be a part of a rocket ship that grows from 2 million to 300 million and then get promoted along the way to be one of the top leaders in the company? What do you have to believe, and what kind of identity do you have to step into to just evolve?
I've never had that question, right? It's an interesting question. To be at a company like Marketo when we were going through that growth is not for the faint of heart. So I would say it takes insane tenacity and discipline to your North Star. your own personal North Star. I mean, obviously the company has a North Star, but your own personal North Star. And it, for me, became a, I can do this. Like literally, Marketo would make you feel, and a lot of people would probably relate to this that went through this, that I feel like a failure. And the reason that happens is because it was going so fast and feels insanely detail oriented and can operate in almost any team. He challenges you to step up or step out is the best way to think of it. And a few people stepped up, and a lot of people stepped out during that time. And I would just say tenacity and just your sheer will of wanting to do it.
So what was it like working for George Lucas?
I mean, you know, you get to meet him a few times, but I would say that working at LucasFilm is for a certain type of individual, is the way I would say it. And I had a good time, and we did a lot there. And, you know, but I would just say it wasn't for me, is the way I would answer that. So it was great. I mean, you go to the ranch and it's like, you get to meet some stars. You know, he has a beautiful facility. Well, he had until he sold it to Disney, but a beautiful facility at the ranch, and had restaurants in there. And, you know, so from that perspective, it was always super great. But, you know, it's also, I mean, I guess the best way to say it is the tech folks aren't really the stars of the show, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah. What's the number one thing you need to focus on to deliver customer success when you're going through that process with a SaaS product?
Yeah, I mean, at Syncari, I made sure that support and success are only about the health and success of the customer. There's nobody in success that tries to talk about renewals or any kind of upsell or cross-sell or anything like that. And I think confusing your success with a renewals team is probably the thing that can turn off customers pretty quickly.
So how do you measure customer success then? Like, what are your leading and lagging indicators that you use to like measure like how successful your customers are being?
It's the same thing. I mean, it's a company. The company owns those metrics more than one person or one team, right? You have churn, you've got NDR, you've got growth, upsell, etc. And the growth and NDR get tracked in sales, and the churns get tracked in success. The churns mostly times happen when it's not an acquisition or a company going out of business because you did not help that customer, right? And so I kind of like put churns on Donna, but I put the growth NDR upsell numbers in on the sales side, if that makes sense. And I could be making a mistake, but for this size that we're at right now, I think it's the right way to build a company.
Yeah, and who's like your favorite founder or CEO that you follow?
Yeah, follow or used to follow. I admire Phil Fernandez for what he was able to do at Marketo, and folks like him that are insanely tenacious. I mean, you know, Mark is betting off at Salesforce is also someone that's obviously super great. He had a lot of help there at the end, but yeah, I mean, if I had to answer one, I'd say Phil, because he was, for me, I learned so much from just watching him operate.
And what is he doing now? Is he still over there?
I think he just sits on boards and flies in his airplane and
lives
goes from house to house and
flying around, going to board meetings.
Yeah, awesome. Flying around, going to board meetings, and visiting his homes whenever he can.
All right, Nick, last but not least, what's your favorite online tool that you use besides Syncari?
Online tool? My favorite?
Yeah, what's your favorite? You can't live without. You know, something you use on a...
That would have to be Gmail at this point.
That makes sense, man. Well,
I got to tell you, though, I'll change that because I spend more time in Slack now than anything else. So I'd have to say Slack and Gmail. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Well, thanks for the time today, man. It was awesome. So can you let everyone know where they could find you, where they could find out more about Syncari, and then we'll wrap the show.
Visit Syncari.com for information on Syncari. I encourage you to go look at the blog post there because we have a lot of content for RevOps folks that are trying to break into this or trying to understand it. You can see me on LinkedIn. It's Nick Bonfiglio on LinkedIn, and I'm always available to answer any questions or to help out in any way.
Yeah, and I would second that. Like Nick drops some fire on LinkedIn. He'll get super detailed, and then he's also very generous with his time as well. So thanks for being on the show, Nick. It was awesome having you on. Loved your perspective, and I will look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. I really appreciate the time.